Hello, and thank you for your interest in this course. Hi, I'm Steve Ballinger. I'm the creator and instructor for the course, and a longtime, very successful instructor here on Udemy with hundreds of thousands of students from all over the world, over 200 countries. And I have been really leveraging and using ChatGPT to help me with my own personal development, my business development, and developing my business, increasing my productivity. And I think you're going to be amazed at some of the things that you can do with artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT AI, in terms of how that can really make an impact for you. If we were to answer the question, well, why should we look at this? Why should we use ChatGPT? Let me give you a couple ideas first before we dive into the course. So first off, it really is going to help you increase your productivity, especially with your writing things or emails, or creating things. That's going to really help you from outlining to helping create new types of documents or new types of things. So you're going to see a lot of different use cases to improve your productivity. Certainly it'll help your writing ability because ChatGPT is going to, it's kind of a language process based where it's going to give you more of a speaking language type of writing style that's going to come back with that you can then adapt. We're not copying and pasting. We're not plagiarizing. We're using this as a tool in an ethical way that help us with our writing. You can also use it to educate yourself real quickly. If you want to learn a subject matter or something real quickly, you can leverage ChatGPT to really start getting you going from zero to being more functional with a particular type of topic by educating yourself real quickly. And that's you're expanding your skill set because you have this, think of like a friend or a person who happens to be a computer friend or person or AI or algorithms, but it's somebody that can give you back information, feedback to help improve your skill set, and you'll see that as we go through. Also specifically, you can use it to help solve problems, like even as much as like hard skill problems from like how to debug a code. If you're a software engineer or developer and you've got some code you're stuck with, you can put that code into GPT and ask it to debug it, and it'll do it for you. Or maybe you're somebody who wants to translate something. ChatGPT can translate documents, and it can do a lot more as you're going to learn in the course. And I have a lot of really interesting best practices and tips so you can get even more out of the course, along with all these other great benefits of using ChatGPT. So in the end, ChatGPT is super fast. Your responses are almost instantaneous. In fact, everything I do in the course is live. There's no speeding up a film or anything. This is how fast it goes, and I think you'll be amazed at that. It's also very easy to use, and this is real focused on using your work life, but you can use it in your personal life too. And I got some personal life things there at the end of the course too for fun, like how to buy a great gardening gift for my wife who's into gardening now, and it ended up helping me to find the best gardening gift ever, something I had never heard of, and helped me with my personal life too. But really the focus will be how can we use this in our business or work life. And think of that again as it's the AI friend you never had, right? It's the artificial intelligence friend who's going to help you be more productive. And I think we're in the early stages of this, and if you're watching this now, you're an early person, maybe an early adopter. It's going to give you a real advantage because this is something that's really starting to really grow quickly, and I think it's going to be really changing for us as a society from it, and also from helping our work-life balance and helping us to be certainly things like more productive as well too. And we'll talk a little bit about there's some ethical issues too, and how this is all about doing everything ethically, but also you'll know about some things to watch out for as well too. So it's a complete course. Feel free to jump around if there's a certain section you want to get into right away. It's like, I really want to learn about blogging and how ChatGPT can help me. Well, just jump to the blogging lesson. That's perfectly fine. Otherwise, you can go straight through the course right from start to finish, and you'll have a total grasp of ChatGPT, the best practices and tips, and how to really implement and use it in your life. So with that, let's get started and really start getting into the course. So let's start by talking about how to log into GPT, look at its interface a little bit, and give you some quick idea of how it kind of works, real basic thing, and then we'll get real deeper and deeper as we go in the course. So to get to ChatGPT and create your account, you want to actually, if you're doing like a Google search, you want to do ChatGPT login here is what you want to do. The reason is if you put just ChatGPT, a lot of times they'll bring you right to their blog, and you don't have the login at all, and it gets confusing and hard to find. So what you want to do is put in login and find like the login, like I'll say OpenAI is who makes ChatGPT and supports and all that. And then once you click on that, or if you just go to chat.openai.com/authorization login, you're going to get to a screen that looks like this. It can update or change at any time, but basically if you're a user already like I am, you can just log right in, and then if you want to sign up, you just click sign up, and they'll just start asking you things like your email and all this. You can see I'm already pretty popular because I'm already have an account with them, but otherwise you just create your account through that. Pretty simple, pretty easy to do. It's free, at least for now it's free, but that could change at any moment as well. But right now it's free to do, and you'll just ask for username, create a password, simple stuff, right? So I have an account, so I have it up and going already here. So this is what the current ChatGPT interface looks like. It's pretty clean, pretty easy to use. Please understand they're always constantly updating everything. So if it looks a little different, that doesn't mean the course is out of date or anything like that. It's all still current. It just might be how their interface might be evolving and looking. But how you'll use it will be the same, as it just might look a little different. But right now, what you see is on the left-hand side, you have these different chats. You can create a new chat or different chats. These are things I've been asking or working with before, so it remembers that. So you can go back to that string of things you've been looking at. So like I was interested in pros and cons of self-managing property. If I want to buy some real estate property, and it gave me back information on pros and cons of that. So I could go back to that and ask some more follow-up questions based on this conversation string. Or if I want to just delete it, I just hit the the trash icon and I could delete that whole string. So that's what this is. And this is a relatively newer feature, so this is actually very, very nice. You can clear conversations. There's a dark mode. There's a Discord group, if you're that. Updates and FAQs, you can find that here. There isn't too many, but if you want, you can find FAQs and stuff and certainly log out. And then it has this thing where it talks about some examples here. You can see examples from how to ask a 12-year or what to get for a 10-year-old's birthday, all the way up to how do I make an HTTP request in JavaScript. And we're going to go through lots of use cases and examples. That's the real guts of the course here. So you'll see all sorts of ways that you can actually really apply this for yourself in a real-world environment. I'll walk you right through how to do it. And some of the capabilities, remembering what it said, and you can build on all those things. And then also some limitations, like that it's based on data that might be a year old or 2 years old. You'll keep updating that all the time. But understand it's not really designed to tell you how late is my favorite pizza restaurant open today. That's something like you could get out of a Google search. It's going to be more about more of those deeper type questions. Not necessarily deeper, but questions that are more universal type questions versus something that might be a more recent type thing or something that's happened today or in this moment. And then lastly, the main part of ChatGPT, really what you're going to use is right down here, right where this little arrow thing is. Again, they could move this to a different part of the screen. But right here where you see my blinking cursor, that's where all the magic happens. That's where you would, ask your questions, whatever you want to do, like how to make pizza, right? And you could just ask it that, pizza. And then it'll answer your question. So I'll hit enter. And this is all in real time, by the way. I'm on my my home internet Wi-Fi. Kids streaming stuff upstairs. So this is about as slow as it's ever going to go. And here it's giving me a recipe on how to make homemade pizza. Now I might want to build on that and ask more detailed questions, like maybe I want a certain type of pizza, like a thin crust pizza or a deep dish pizza, whatever it might be. You can see it's giving me the instructions and everything on how to do that, right? How to make this pizza. So that's an idea. I'm sure that's fascinating watching how to make pizza. We're going to get into more work type stuff here. And so we're going to go back, to our ChatGPT and we're going to start looking at some use cases and some practical tips. I'm going to start with and give you some really great ideas and some tips that will really help you to really get the most of it here coming right up. Okay, I'm going to start by giving you some great hot tips and best practices for using ChatGPT. So as you start asking your own questions and engaging in your own conversations with ChatGPT, the things you're going to learn in this quick little lesson here are going to be ways that you can get even more out of it no matter what you're asking for. And these are some really great hot tips and best practices I've been using, and it's really, really made a big difference. So let's use an example, and I'm going to walk you through some of these tips that you can do. And for our example, let's say your boss comes to your office and says, this is your boss talking now, and says, I've been reading this stuff about Enneagrams, and they're like these assessment tests or whatever for team members or employees. Could you research Enneagrams and in like 2 hours kind of give me your viewpoints on Enneagrams and whether we should adopt it to the office, and what are your overall thoughts, and how do they even work and all that? How does this personality test work? And can you get that to me in 2 hours? Come by my office 2 hours, let's discuss. Have a great day, right? And that's your boss coming to you. And first, you might have two initial thoughts. One is, why do I work here? Why do I have this crazy boss that's asking about Enneagrams? And then your second question might be like, what is an Enneagram? I've got to give a report on this or a presentation. Maybe it's written. Maybe I've got to be able to talk about it. I don't even know what an Enneagram is. So let's say that you have no idea what an Enneagram. I bet you don't. Maybe you do. If you do, good for you. But we're going to find out what an Enneagram is, and we're going to look at these tips. Really, the idea is the tips to show you how you can use ChatGPT, not what Enneagrams are. This is the question we're going to ask GPT, and then we're going to focus on the tips. All right, so here I am at ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask it about Enneagrams, right? So I'm going to go down to where I ask my questions, and I'm going to say, what is an Enneagram? Maybe I had to look that up on how to spell that. See, I got the wrong spelling, or maybe it doesn't even recognize the spelling. But the nice thing about ChatGPT can actually, fix your, understanding if you spell things wrong sometimes, a lot of times. So what is an Enneagram? And maybe you heard from your boss that was like some type of personality testing or whatever. In fact, I'm going to misspell personality wrong. I'm going to misspell test wrong too. Let's see how it does. So if it figures out from that what I'm actually trying to ask it. So I have no idea if it's going to come through or not, but here it comes. See how fast it is? This is, again, in real time on my Wi-Fi at home, not a fast network at all. So it's giving me information. The Enneagram is a personality typing system that identifies 9 distinct personality types. So this is all about personality testing and all that. And it talks a little bit more about how it's used and other things there. Just a short little thing on Enneagram. See how it's added to my chat over here too as well as a new thing in my chat. And I can read through this and I can find it about strengths and weaknesses and all that. All right, so let's say I have this and I'm not real happy with it, or I'm not sure if this is really helpful for me. The first tip is simply, there's a button here that says regenerate response. I can just have it try again. It's really just starting over and trying again. And it's going to give me it's going to give it to me in a different way, right? Similar but different. Here it talks about 9 different types. So maybe I want to find out more about that. I'm going to show you how to do that too. So here it's going to talk about this Enneagram tests, online and print, blah, blah, blah. And what you'll see up here too, see where it says 2 of 2? I could go back to the previous answer here and see what the first answer was, and I can go back to the second answer and start picking up from there, because it's remembering what I'm doing and it's building on that, right? So the first tip is you can use to regenerate a response. But maybe what I want to do is, maybe I just need even more information. So I could just simply say, if you want to be polite, I'm polite, right? So can you expand on this? Well, what's this? Well, it's basically expanding what they did. So that's tip number 2, is if you get something that seems like a short, it's too short or doesn't give you enough information, you can ask it and it'll say things like, certainly, it's very pleasant. The Enneagram is a psychological system, all this. And it'll give you more information, or maybe, as far as building that out more as this processes through here, because we're doing this all in real time. So you can regenerate responses, or you can just simply ask it to expand and give you information. Here it's talking about how there's different Enneagram tests available, what they're designed for, and all that, and about feelings. This is something that I don't believe was in the first answer, so now this is building on that. The next tip is to take, that's writing, is to take something that's been written and then just build off that. So it talks about that there's 9 different types, right? You might get that where it says there's 8 of this or 4 of that. So maybe you take that and you put that in there. Remember, this is all in an Enneagram chat around personality tests. And I might say, what are the, do I remember copy paste? No. What are the 9 types? Right? So now it's like, what is this? What are these 9 types? So the 9 Enneagram types are, and now it's going to tell me about these different 9 types. Might give me a little bit of a detail or a little bullet point list, for example, right? So you got the perfectionist, you got the helper, the achiever. As you read through this, you can see these are the different 9 types of Enneagrams. Now think about your crazy boss asked you for stuff. You could be Google searching, you could be trying to piece this all together. Right now, this is all coming out. This is stuff that you can use and adapt into a written report if you want for your boss, or pop them a quick email. Say the Enneagram is a personality test. It's based on this, and there's 9 types. Here are the 9 types. And, that might be all the boss needs at that moment, right? So here we are, number 8, number 9. So the next tip is, let's say it didn't put it in bullet points. You can actually ask it to put something in bullet points. So if I was up in here and I said, could you make this all into bullet points, it would do that and basically turn things like that into more of an easier to read bullet point list. Maybe we'll try that in a moment. But for now, we've already got our bullet points. But maybe let's say ooh, I know somebody in my office who's a perfectionist. I could say, can you tell me more about point number 1? All right. And now it'll go into more about that particular point, about the perfectionist. It's not giving me the other points. I asked for point number 1. And see how simple that was, how quick I just typed that in? I mean, I'm just doing this all on the fly here, right? But now it gets into more details about that point. Type 1s are responsible, moral, orderly, all this. This is just giving me a little bit more on that, and I could ask it to expand on that. Or I could say, could you expand on all the points in there as well? And they would expand on all the points. See, this is, getting me even more information. They're driven by strong sense of purpose, drive, whatever. That's number 1, the perfectionist, right? But let's say I wanted to could you, another top tip is ask for examples. Sometimes they'll give you lists and you want to get examples. So could you give me an example of someone who is a number 2, right? And I intentionally left that wrong because I can't type. But they knew, so certainly here's an example. Even though Steve can't type, ChatGPT can, So this is a number 2, right? So here is an example. Now let's go back up. Number 2 is the helper, right? So they're empathetic, caring, and supportive, right? So here is an example of well, what do we mean by the helper? And here it is. Jane is a kind and compassionate person, and Jane is driven by this. I mean, Jane is not a real person, but you might help. By asking in this manner might help you understand someone who's in your office, maybe on this type of personality test. So asking for examples. So the tip is not. Again, this has nothing to do with Enneagrams. This has everything to do with how to get more out of the program and asking it for things. In addition, let's say you want to turn this into a blog, right? Maybe you want to turn this into a blog article. You can just take it right from here, what you're doing, just say, could you write, and we're going to get into blogs and stuff, but could you write a blog about Enneagrams, right? Is it going to get that? I type so bad? Certainly, here's a blog post about the Enneagram. What is the Enneagram, right? So this might be something that I could use in my email to my boss, or I could, put it together and start as a part of a report where I'm going to add into it. So maybe I'm taking this general knowledge, and then I'm going to put in specifics, like this is what the Enneagram is, and then I might add into, without doing the test, I think Jane is this, and Tom is this, and Samir is number 2. I believe I'm a number 7, which is the whatever, and go into each of these different, 9 points again. But this is like a written blog post that you can use and expand on as far as an outline or an idea behind that. In fact, as we get into the blog thing later, you can even use it to help with like titling and those types of things too. So we'll do that here in a moment as this keeps going through. So, but the main idea is that, using these tips of keeping to generate more content, more things that might be out there as far as that you want to learn. And this is a pretty good long blog post. It was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. But let's say, I wanted a title for this blog post. I could ask it, could you give, well, it's right in there, me 5 titles for this blog. Okay. Oh wow, this is like God's gift to blogs. Look at this thing go, right? I mean, here we're wrapping up finally. I guess I asked it too broad of a thing actually. Blog. Now I'm going to say, just give me 5 titles. Give me 5 title ideas for the blog. Because sometimes you're just trying to generate ideas, and that's the last hot tip, is using ChatGPT to give you things like titles or generate ideas or things of that nature as well. So thought about a little bit. Now here's 5 blog titles. Now I could try to really think of different things, brainstorm stuff, whatever, but I could look at these 5 titles for whatever it is. Maybe I'm writing a report or a subject line for an email, whatever it might be, and I could ask it for some potential titles or ideas. So here's our titles: Understand the Enneagram, Discover the True Self, the Enneagram, a tool for personal and professional growth. Now I'm gonna get, this is a nice, if you're doing, if you're actually writing a blog and you want something maybe more clickbaity or more click-oriented, or something to generate interest, like navigating the 9 Enneagram types is kind of like, oh, what are the types? How do I navigate that? Maybe I add on to it, maybe I take the 9 Enneagram types and then I add on, discover your true self or something like that, or I just come up with my own creative stuff. So that's the idea behind these hot tips, some initial hot tips, and a really quick kind of overview on how it works too as well, as far as how you can use it to start generating content or generating ideas, and then building on that, you know, would be the idea behind that. All right, so let's keep going with the course. And these are some hot tips. Now we're going to look at some, you know, some more detailed stuff as we keep going through. One thing that we do all day long is write emails, right? We write a lot of emails. Sometimes our emails are nice and short and we don't need much of it. Some might be more, you know, involved or more detailed oriented, or might need more oomph behind them, so to speak, or they're more critical emails. Maybe you're asking for a raise or something like that. And so we're going to see how ChatGPT can help us build the building blocks for emails. And then of course we want to customize it to ourselves. You know, we don't want to necessarily copy and paste because there's a uniqueness to it, but you'd be surprised at how ChatGPT can help us be more productive and efficient with our email writing. So let's take a look at that. All right, so we're at ChatGPT, and we're going to have it make an email for us. And I'm going to give you like 4 or 5 examples here of common things you do all day long. So let's say first one, or some might be a little uncommon, like, you know, like asking for a raise, for example. So let's say you're asking if you could work from home more. So let's say, you know, could you write an email asking my boss if I could work from home more and why that is good for the company, right? A little salesy thing there, right? Now you might really spend a lot of time trying to think about this, and it's already writing, you know, like thinking about this and like, how do I do this? How do I write this email? How do I make this work? And really agonizing on where ChatGPT, I could just ask the question, it's already writing response, and then I can apply some of this and then add in my own stuff to make it more customized to me. Again, this is not plagiarism. This is like, and how could it be plagiarism? We're asking for ourselves to be able to work from home more. We're just looking for ideas on how maybe to structure an email and some ideas behind that, right? So we might say, and so you can see here, it says, "Dear boss," and you know, obviously I put in, you know, whatever the person's name is. Hope it finds you well. I'm talking about the COVID pandemic a little bit and how people are working remotely more all the time, right? Since certainly the peak of the pandemic. And then it talks about how it's present for you personally, you know, able to focus while distractions of the office environment, balance of work life and personal commitments. However, and here's the key thing, maybe you have this in, maybe you don't, but here's the money thing. However, I believe there are several benefits for the company allowing employees to work from home more frequently. You know, for one, and then it gives you some overhead costs, all that stuff. You know, I'm confident this is blah, 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 right? So this is maybe the starting email, right? And maybe you want to maybe you would add in there, you copy and paste or put this into your email, like, could we set up a meeting to discuss further? And you obviously have your name and all that too. But it's already starting to give me some ideas on this. And maybe I want to say, like, you know, what are the best, what are, you know, great benefits for the company by having people work from home. So let's say I looked at my first version here. It's a nice little email, but it's like, maybe it's the whole key is I want to talk about the benefits for the company, why it might be good for my boss. And then you want to customize this to make it unique to your situation. And maybe you want to do more of a hybrid environment where we're coming to office 2 days a week and work from home more, right? You know, so here it's putting out into more of a bullet point list, which is easier to read, that you can start adapting that too. Like, you'd probably want to talk about improved employee retention, because I would like insinuate that if you don't let me do this, I'm going to quit. You know, but there's other things you might be, like, you know, flexibility, enhanced collaboration, whatever it might be, and really expanding on these things. So that's one example where I just started with a really broad idea and kind of a bigger topic, a complex topic, and really just, you know, used it to write me an email. Maybe let's use a couple other examples here. Maybe we have, you know, could you write an email? And I'm so polite, I could just write email, you know, write an email welcoming a new employee. Okay, all right. So let's say you've got a new employee, maybe you're the manager, you're going to send them an email, or maybe you're a coworker and you just want to introduce yourself, right? You know, And then this will just give you some ideas about this. You know, dear whoever, I'm thrilled you're with the company. You know, put your company's name in here. Here it's giving you what to fill in. You know, I am this is my title at this company. A lot of times I might write an email like that and I forget, oh my gosh, I forgot my title, right? And then talk like, well, I'll be your primary point person during onboarding. Well, you might not be. You would change this and say, I will be the person who will help you with your paperwork during onboarding, or I will be the person, feel free to ask me questions about accounting, as I'm the accounting liaison for your department, or finance, or whatever. So you can see it's written a nice little email that I can then just take and adapt, right? The whole key is adapting this, then make it more your own, right? So let's say I'm reaching out to the team and I want feedback on something. Let's say email asking for feedback on should we buy new project management software. All right, so this is more, and again, I'm not even going to fix the spellings on this. ChatGPT will fix it for me. So here's a draft. It's already started whether we should purchase a new project management software to get the ball rolling, to get it started, to get people thinking about it. You know, and you can adjust how you want. I hope this email finds you well. Maybe you start a different way, but it's giving you a suggestion here. And then kind of breaks it out here what we're considering. Could you please take a minute to complete this short survey, insert the link to the survey, and by this deadline, see how that was nice too. You might be prompting it like, you know what, I should create a little survey on SurveyMonkey or something like that, or a Google Doc. Maybe I should do that and stick this in here and just start that way. So I didn't even think of that, but ChatGPT helped me kind of think, well, here's an alternative for you. And let's say I didn't like that response. What do? I can just hit regenerate response, or I could ask it in more detail, and it'll basically do this case. Is going to do a very similar thing, but it could adjust, you know, and maybe make it look a little bit different. See, it still starts with, I hope this email finds you well, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, considering new project management software, so all sorts of stuff. So it's just regenerating the response here. All right, so let's look at two more. One is, you know, ask for a raise. Now, you wouldn't want to do this, you know, as far as actually maybe through email, but it's a challenging thing. Email asking for a raise, right? And then here it's going, here's a draft or an email to request a raise, right? So you can see how ChatGPT, this is limitation, right? Are all the emails going to be, I hope this email finds you well? Is that just how you might speak would be different? You just take that out, just adjust this to be here, you know, but you're looking at things, I've been here for this many years, I'm grateful, you know, it's making it more softer than maybe I put like, hey, I haven't got a raise in 3 years, you schmuck, give me money, you know? You know, so this is where it's helping to provide the bones of something, the outline, and then I can adapt that to my needs. And then the last one, you've got the idea, but let's say you want to write a resignation email, right? You know, something that was better, you want to leave on good terms, you know, or whatever it might be, or a thank you email, thank you to a customer, or thank you for promotion. It's really more limited to what your imagination is. But I think with ChatGPT, using it for emails and really helping to write faster emails is one of the biggest productivity savers out there, particularly if in your email you have to have some research in there, like when we were talking about with the hot tips area, we were talking about Enneagram, a personality test, where you might pull some of that information and put it into an email, right? So that might help as far as that. So with that, that's one way you can use it. Real productivity, something you might want to try right away is start thinking about some common emails you write and how you might be able to use ChatGPT to help you with email writing to be more productive. So ChatGPT is great for writing the short form stuff, emails, maybe blog posts, whatever. But what if you have to write a more bigger report? How can we build out a report or build out some bigger documents by using ChatGPT to help us outline and help build this out? So let's look at some examples of that here and how we might do that. So first one is let's look at a business case, right? A business case is a document you're writing to try to get approval and funding to start a new project. It's not an actual project plan or anything like that or something you're implementing. It's asking for approval to do something, right, with a business case, particularly if it needs funding. So if we look at ChatGPT in here, I could go into the question area again here, and let's say I'm not familiar with writing business cases. I might say, could you give me an outline of a well-written business case? This is where you got to put in the right thing. If you wrote business plan, they might be thinking that's for new companies, right? A business plan is like you're going to get funding for a new company. That's different than a business case, which is like getting money or getting approval to go ahead with a project inside your company. So there's a difference. So you want to make sure if you put in the wrong information, you're going to get the wrong information back, right? So, give me an outline of a well-written business case. Like, what would be the different components on that, right? It says, sure, you're a nice guy, Steve, I'll give you an outline, but here's a basic outline, right? So talking about the introduction, problem or opportunity state, objectives, different things that you might have in there. I think you would start with like an executive summary. So you can see how there's some limitations here. I'd say, maybe I want that more, or maybe that's part of the introduction, right? Like, but I know there should be an executive summary in there, in addition to all these other things here too. And you got objectives, alternatives, and all this. But maybe I might want to put in there something around executive summaries while that's still typing away. So like for a business case, what is included in an executive summary? All right. Oops. Well, see, you figure that out for me. Again, I love this. I don't have to be such a good typer. So it's a brief summary, highlights the key points, and quick overview. In an executive, you should include summary of the problem, main objectives, because an executive summary should be a review of all the different parts, right? So I can break this out and say, okay, now I know what to include in my executive summary. So when I'm writing my actual executive summary, I'm not copying and pasting from ChatGPT. I'm using this as an outline to help me write my executive summary, make sure I'm catching everything maybe in there, for example, or or I could have it expand on different types of things, expand more on what an implementation plan or whatever it might be. I can ask GPT for those types of things, right? So I could ask it to write a business case. I could write project plans. Maybe I want to do a research report, right? So maybe this would be actually better as a new chat. And so I want to write a research report on social media marketing, right? So maybe I want to say, could you write a research report on social media marketing for a pizza restaurant? Because maybe some types of social media marketing are better for some companies than others, right? So we're going to ask it to do a research report. I've never tried this before, so we're going to see how this works, right? But here's the brief outline of research from social media marketing for a pizza restaurant. Include, you have a section, then you have your introduction and all this, and backgrounds and all this, and it's going to keep kind of doing this too. I'm hoping that it'll come back with stuff like, there's methodology, different, So this is like high-level report, a review on how to basically structure your report. So we've started writing a report, and then maybe you would want to expand on the different things based on what you're finding, right? So, or maybe it's not really getting to what I want to, right? What would be the recommendation? So I see how it's built the structure of a broader report, but maybe I'd want to say, how can you use Facebook marketing, Facebook ads for a pizza restaurant? Or whatever, or restaurant, since I can't type. So here are a few ways in pizza I could use Facebook ads, right? So now I'm building out more detail that might be coming in my report, right? About how it can be targeted, promotions and discounts. They give you some examples. Could use Facebook ads, offer a large pizza, buy one, get one free. But you think about your own business about, how could I write a Facebook ad or something like that, maybe for your own business, customer engagement, promotions, all sorts of stuff. So it's covering a lot of ground that I can then build up on that, and and then just really kind of go from there in terms of your report writing, right? And let's start one more new chat, and let's say you're a manager and you need to write a performance appraisal, right? Now, usually those would come templated out, but maybe I want to talk about, for a performance appraisal, for an underperforming employee, team member, right? Employee. Now let's say I just want an example, what that might look like. It's going to vary because, a performance appraisal is going to vary it's going to be something that's real specific to a person, right? But this is hopefully going to help us, and hopefully it will help us to kind of think about this, how to address things, address it as soon as possible, that you have your documentation. So this might be a structure. If it's not a formalized performance appraisal, maybe this is just maybe it's an email that this is going to be about performance, or a written document that they're underperforming. So instead of this being the formal annualized appraisal, this would actually be better using it as a documentation. Like, I've had a one-to-one discussion with somebody who's underperforming, and I have performance that needs improvement, title for the team member's name, the date. What's going below expectations? Is there any strengths that the team member is doing, that I might want to add in there? But certainly areas for improvement and goals for the next evaluation period, those might be things. And what's our action plan? So this might be, a way to lay this out, and it gives you some examples of how this might look. But this was for a performance appraisal. I could change this into something else as far as, could you change this to a write-up? Oops. I wonder if it'll recognize write-up for being late to work. We'll just start with that. So maybe instead of like a full-blown performance appraisal, maybe the person's coming in late to work. I'm not sure how to write this. I have to write a document because Human Resources wants a document. How would I do this? And you can see how it's sitting here. Performance write-up for the team member, the date, frequent tardiness, overview, and then what you've been, and then you fill in with the details, right? So they're giving you examples, but you could say from 15 minutes to an hour, maybe it's every day, maybe it's Thursdays and Fridays, whatever it might be, and then outlining your expectations, and then the next actions they're taking, and what goals for improvement, and then talk about, well, what happens if it doesn't improve? What if there's no improvement? You'd want to add that in there as well too. What resources and support and all that. So here's some examples of when you're thinking about your reports. I'd like you to think now about what reports do you actually write frequently, and how could you use that ChatGPT to help you better with your more frequent reports, or maybe some unusual reports as well. ChatGPT is also excellent if you need to create scripts or prepare yourself for maybe giving a presentation or a speech. ChatGPT can help you really outline that and think about that more and help you make sure that you get everything covered. So let's do that with an example here. So let's say your manager comes to you and there's an all-company meeting, and you need to give a speech on the importance of your department to the company, right? Why your department is important to the company. And let's do that and see what ChatGPT comes back with, right? So which just giving a speech can be nerve-wracking itself, but this could help actually write an entire script for you, example. So we might ask it to write a script. So please, write a script for a presentation to the entire company. So more detail is good. Entire company about, and let's say you work in accounting, about the accounting department and its importance to the company. All right. All right, so congratulations, we're all accountants now, all right? So I hope you enjoy that. All right, so think about how agonizing that might be to do and how to really start outlining and structuring that. Here it's coming right back, right? You might not know anything about accounting, but they're gonna kind of give you an example here, right? So I'm here today to talk to you about the accounting part and its importance to the company, okay? So what is accounting, right? And now, why is the accounting department important to our company? This is nice too, where it gives a little briefing about accounting that's not going to go on for 17,000 pages. That's what you'd want, maybe in a short little speech to the company. Why is the accounting department important? And they'll talk about the different importance of the accounting department. Just our general things that are universal to accounting departments. Now, maybe your accounting department doesn't do certain things. Maybe your accounting department doesn't have a role in budgeting and forecasting. Well, that'd be unusual, but let's say it didn't. It was more finance department or something. You can just take that stuff out and then build on this as an outline, then add in there, with like, who are the team members in the accounting department? Who's the person you would contact if you need help from the accounting department as far as a company-wide speech, right? Or something of that nature. So, but either way, I now have an entire script that I can start as a basis point and then edit the script and then add in more unique things like who's in the department, what's my role in the department, how does accounting work, what are the accounting department's hours if that matters, when we're busy, at the end of the months and end of quarters, and by the way, get your expense reports on time or accounting gets mad, those kind of things you could have in there too. But you can see for scripting of any type of thing, you can just add in add in there like a script for anything. Like, let's say you want to write a script for asking the city to add a stop sign in your neighborhood. No way I'm going to spell neighborhood. Why can't I spell neighborhood? Neighborhood for child safety. All right, so cars are going by your neighborhood real fast. You're going to give a presentation to the school board or maybe the city and say the city, and you want them to spend money and do that. So here you have your city council members or whatever you might be. It might be county commissioners. It might be whatever is local to you, because you're going to adapt all this. But just talking about, I'm requesting to write this, and you put at this intersection, you have to put in the intersection and stuff. I urge you to consider this. So here's just a short little thing that's about, giving a little script thing for organizing your thoughts around just asking for a stop sign in your city neighborhood. So, things that are beyond that too. This could be adapted into an email as well, for example. So there you have it. ChatGPT can really be helpful if you give a lot of presentations, or if you don't give a lot of presentations. It can help organize your thoughts, and then you build on that and customize it. You're not plagiarizing or copying and pasting because it wouldn't make any sense. You might not be in the accounting department, for example, but you can get an outline. In fact, you could just use this example I just used and put in your own department, and boom, you just had a script for your own department right now. One thing I find ChatGPT to be just immensely beneficial for is my own education, learning about different things and helping myself, whether it's in a work environment or in a personal environment. And we're going to talk about in the work environment around some soft skills, and we're going to give some examples here. But think about areas of your own improvement where ChatGPT might be able to help educate yourself or give you some ideas for personal improvement, for example. So let's look at a couple of soft skills. So this one we're going to be in soft skills. The next lesson we're going to talk about some hard skills. So some real technical, maybe some technical type skills as an example, but this is soft skills. So let's start with talking about, critical thinking. We'll talk a little bit about oral communication as an example, and we'll wrap up with like leading a meeting, just as for some examples. So critical thinking is one of the most important things out there right now for businesses and folks that are hiring. So if we look at ChatGPT, and we could just say, well, how can I get better at critical thinking, right? Which gets into decision making and all that too as well. So, this is a really broad type thing. It's going to be pulling from lots of resources. So it might take a little extra time. As you can see, it took like an extra, 1 second, 2 seconds. I mean, isn't that amazing? I mean, if you're not like at this point saying, oh my goodness, just keep going because we got more, it'll be great, right? So then it talks about, here are ways you can, practical ways you can improve your critical thinking skills. And it gets into that, as far as introspection, stuff like that. And let's say I'm reading this, take the time to consider multiple viewpoints and all that. And let's say it's giving good information, but let's say I'm also, I've been told by my boss that sometimes I have, in biases in my decision making, right? So, I could say, well, what is that? What are some common biases in decision making? Kind of related decision making, kind of related to critical thinking, right? We got that, but bias, not in this case that a person would be, if they were told that they're a racist or don't like a certain gender or whatever. It's just more the scientific type biases, and you'll see this coming up here, like anchoring bias here, for example, when people rely heavily on the first piece of information they receive when making a decision. So if you're taking in lots of information, the first piece might be, that's the answer based on that. That's an anchoring bias. But you can see things like there's these different biases, loss aversion, like when you've already put money into something, you're motivated not to, you don't want to lose, or more about, you don't want to lose more, you don't want to take risks, right? So these are examples of like, okay, here are some decision-making biases, and you can look at this and say, do I have any of these, of these biases, right? And what that might mean, what is, confirmation bias? Like, I might say, okay, that sounds like me. Maybe I say, could you expand on confirmation bias and provide an example. I like it. Sometimes I ask it to provide an example because that helps my learning when I see what's an example of this. Like I read it, I understand it, but let me read it some more in more detail. This is the expanding on it, and could you provide me an example, right? So it's going to it's going to confirm what it is, and then it's going to give me an example of this too. Actually talking about weight loss or whatever. So I might want to ask about, provide an example, let's say for accountants or in the work environment or whatever. And then also why this can be a problem. So, this is an example of where I'm educating myself, let's say around critical thinking and decision making. Let's start up a new chat real quickly, a couple other ones. Let's say I want to be better at communication, right? Let's say with a oral communication, I might say, what are some great tips if nervous about, what do you think I'm going to say? Public speaking, right? Public speaking. Something most people are nervous about. You might have put in your own thing. If you did, just say, go back and use ChatGPT and put it in for whatever makes you. But here's a few things you can try if you're nervous about public speaking, right? And it talks about practice speech, practice with a friend, choose the topic you're interested in, use visual aids, take deep breaths. I'm a deep breath guy, positive self-talk, focus on your audience, all this stuff. So here's a nice bullet point list of things that if you're nervous, you can just look at this and just say, oh, I could do some of these to help me with my oral communication skills. And sometimes I'll answer with a, nice little make you feel good, right? Finally, remember the more you practice, the more comfortable and confident you'll become, right? This could be an outline for a whole course even. So there's an idea of there. And let me leave you with one last one. Like, let's say, start a new chat here. What are some best practices when leading a meeting? Okay. Wow, that was some #1 typing poorness there. Here are some tips for leading a meeting. Right. So if you do not have much experience with leading meetings, this really kind of laid it out for you how to lead maybe your first meeting, right? And then this is just tips that you can build on, like, and then you can ask it more to follow up more and different tools in there. Let's say I want to facilitate discussion, encourage participation from all attendees. Well, that sounds nice, but how do I do that? How do I, in a meeting, copy, paste, facilitate discussion, encourage participation from all attendees, right? So now I'll build on this and give me some strategy. So you see how I'm educating myself, talks about independent questions and what those are, encourage people to share their opinions, inclusive language, blah, blah, blah. And then you can ask it more to expand on all this some more, or you could ask it for examples. So those are some examples of, soft skills that you can ask it. And think about what do you maybe want to improve in terms of a soft skill. Start using ChatGPT to start educating yourself as well. Now let's start talking about some more technical or even some hard skills that you can use ChatGPT as well, like how to do a certain thing in Excel or programming or something, right? So let's talk about using some hard skills in terms of how ChatGPT can help us. And think of the hard skills like those technical skills. And we're going to use some examples that are really accessible to everybody, like Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint. I'm going to show you a couple examples of how we can make that better for us. It's not a whole Excel course. I'm just going to do some short examples on that. But if you're like a coder or a software engineer, I'm going to show you how ChatGPT can help you with debugging or helping write code too. It'll literally blow your mind. And if you're not a software engineer, you should still watch the end, because you're going to look at that and say, is there some technical stuff that I want to improve on that, just if it can do this for coding, what can it do for me on what I want to do, maybe with something like Excel or PowerPoint. So let's do that with ChatGPT. So let's say we use Excel, right? Spreadsheet in our business, and I use spreadsheets all the time, and I love pivot tables, but I always forget how to do them because I don't do pivot tables much, right? And you might not but you and my audience might be an expert in pivot tables, or you might be like, what's a pivot table? So let's find out and actually show us how the steps are to make it. Not like what is a pivot table, but how do I make a pivot table? That's what I really want to know. And I certainly don't want to know the history of spreadsheets. I mean, I'm sure it's exciting. My wife, the accountant, probably would love it. No, not so much. So maybe I say, how do you make a pivot table? And if you don't even know it, just describe what it is. How do I sort my information, with columns with an arrow on top or something like that, right? But how do I make a pivot table in Excel, right? All right. So again, this should not come back with Excel is a spreadsheet that is loved by millions around the world, or something like that. So here it is. To create a pivot table in Microsoft Excel, follow these steps, right? So then it's going to walk you through. Select the data, go to the Insert tab. It tells you where it is on the ribbon. Click on the pivot table button, and it walks you right through how to do that. So if I don't make pivot tables often and I'm trying to search the internet, maybe I'm trying to watch a YouTube video or something like that, look, while you're doing that, I already got the answer, right? I got the answer from ChatGPT here. And it's walking me through how to make this, which is in Excel can be a little tricky to do, but at least gives me started and walks me right through step by step. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Maybe I want to respond like, that's great, I love you, ChatGPT, or something like that. So that's an Excel pivot table, right? Maybe I'm working in PowerPoint and I say now I might want to start a whole new chat, by the way, but let's say I don't. Let's say I start in PowerPoint. I didn't capitalize that. And let's say in PowerPoint, how do I make bullet points better? Like in PowerPoint, how can I make my bullet points more graphical, better that way, more picture oriented versus just like 1,000 bullet points or something like that. And this is a pretty wild question, right? Will it tell me? And because I'm not telling you specifically like up here how do I make a pivot table? I'm asking more general, how can I do that? Can I do this? How do I do this? And then it says there are a few ways you can do this, right? And you can use shapes and lines to create bullet points, use icons, use images, use a smart art graphic. This is where I was kind of trying to get to. Smart art graphics is a little bit more, it's not advanced, but it's something that a lot of people wouldn't know about, right? So, how do I, let's say I want to pick up on that, right? So how do I use number 4, smart art graphic, step by step? All right. So use smart art graphic as a bullet point in PowerPoint. Follow these steps. Select the text you want to turn into bullet points. So first I'm creating bullet points. Go to the Insert tab, Smart Art, and then it'll walk me through how to turn these into more of a graphical unit, right? And click OK and all this. So it's really walking me through this. So if I'm somebody who really doesn't, I use PowerPoint, let's say if a person uses it a lot, but they really never need to make it super fancy or try something new like with bullet points and more smart art graphics, I don't have to take a whole PowerPoint course. Just told me real quickly how to do that simple type thing here. And step by step, it's right there. I don't have to Google search it and try to find different places or anything. I could just do it right here, right there. All right, so that's a couple hard skills there from Microsoft Excel. Now let's look at something really advanced. Like let's talk coding now. I am not a coder, so I am not an expert in this. I wouldn't even know what this thing is saying. I'm going to start a new chat though, but I want you to know this because it's talking about how do I make an HTTP request in JavaScript. Those are the type of questions it can do. So maybe I want to something like, how do I make API code, wrote this down in Univert. Did I get that right? Look at my notes here. Yeah, see, I didn't type that wrong. They're not sure what Univert is. Univert isn't anything. It's Unirest in Springboard. See, I knew I was typing things wrong. So how do I, see, that's a good example. I did that intentionally. Do you see what I did intentionally, unintentionally? See, I'm not a coder, right? So you're probably saying, it's not Univert, it's Unirest. Or Unirest. And it's in Springboard. Come on, Steve. How do I make an API code, in Unirest in Springboard? Now it's going to tell me how to do that. To make an API request using the Unirest library in Springboard, it's going to tell me that, give me some things, and then this is where your mind's getting blown. If you've not seen this before, if you're a programmer, your mind's just getting blown, isn't it? Because it's like, wow, they're giving me the actual, what do I type, code, the whole bit. Once the library is included, you can make an API request with the following code, and there it goes, right? This will send you a GET request to the specified URL, right? And there I've got more coding, more information on there too as well, and this will keep going on there too. And maybe I just want to explain Unirest in Springboard, right? Maybe I want to, you know, just have more general knowledge on that if somebody did. As far as all that, and it talks about like, okay, what is this? We just learned all the coding stuff. Again, I'm not a coder, but it talks about what this is, how it works, and how you can use this code, you know, request APIs and other word services, and et cetera, et cetera. But this is a very high level technical skill, right? This is the type of stuff people spend a long time getting educated on. And here I'm able to, you know, start getting information on this and getting some exposure to this with, and there's some examples here too. I can even copy the code here. Look at that. I can copy the code to my clipboard, so I can then paste that code. Are you appropriately freaked out now if you're a software engineer? If you haven't not seen this before, you must be getting freaked out. I hope you are. It's freaking me out. Maybe it's because I don't know enough, right? So let's say, and we're going to stop this chat, but I had a previous chat where, let's see if I have it here, debug code requested. So I created a code, I asked it, could you debug this code? Right, here's another example. And it would be like, I'd be happy to if you gave me the code. Right? So I didn't give it the code, right? So this is the code that I wanted debugged, right? So, and let's say, I'm going to create this, and I'm going to say, let me go back to a new chat, and I'm going to take that and say, could you debug this code? And copy paste that code, hit enter, and let's see what it says. It's going to analyze my code, and it's going to tell me I'm having an error, right? And it's debugging it for me. There's a potential error in this code. It's related to the integer, right? Y is equal to 0. If you see in here, y is equal to 0 is going to be a problem if you're dividing by y, right? So to avoid this error, you can add check before a decision, all this. And here's how you can modify this function to include this check to make sure that your y is not being used as a 0 in a division problem that's going to give you a bug error and, you know, be a problem. And here's the code with this modification. Again, I could copy this code, and now I have this, and I can start using this and see how this has been added to my ChatGPT library. So those are some examples of hard skills, whether it's something that a lot of us use, like Excel or PowerPoint, and some skills that can get real detail-oriented, like related to you know, coding, like or whatever that might be, whether it's in Java or Python or whatever, or maybe you're looking for something specific to like SAP or Salesforce or something like that. You can do that as well. It's really more limited by your imagination. So I hope you found this interesting too, because sometimes it's trying to find the answer, and you just want to find the answer so you can keep on doing your job. This is where ChatGPT can really help with really complex and challenging hard skills. But the key is you've got to give it the information to do. So don't be like me and say, could you debug this code, and not give them code. You got to give them the code. One thing you can use ChatGPT for is to take large amounts of information and then take that and provide it back to you in a summary form. Maybe we've had to read articles or read documents that are just hugely long, and we just want to get a gist of an idea at first to see if we should even continue reading, or maybe we just want the summary because we're very busy people. So I'm going to show you how you can take a longer piece of something that's already been created and have ChatGPT boil that down into something that's easily for us to consume in terms of a summary of that type of article. So here's the example. So I have this article that is like 6 pages long on the autofocus system, right? And the autofocus system, by the way, is like a time management system, right? A time management system to help you be more productive. And it's this article, you can just see it's poorly written. I mean, as far as just there's no images, it's just all over the place. The text is bad. You know, can you imagine looking at this? There's gaps, there's all sorts of stuff. So this is not, you know, the easiest thing to read anyways. And it's about 6 pages, right? And I'm like, oh boy, I don't want to really struggle through this. Can ChatGPT take this system, which is an interesting system, the autofocus system for time management and productivity, and boil this down into something, you know, from 6 pages that's really hard to read into something that's more of a summary type point. So let's see if it does that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, can you summarize this article? All right. And then what I'm going to do is I've already copied, I'm going to paste the entire article in there. You can see all this stuff in here. Those are the whole articles in there. And hit enter. And like, okay, it's got this 6-page nasty article. and it's going to, which is on a good topic. Don't get me wrong, the topic's good, and it's going to summarize that for it. So now think about this. If I start reading this article, it'd be hard in my eyes and all. ChatGPT is already summarizing the autofocus system for managing and completing tasks. It's a productivity type system. And it's going to walk right through how to do that in a summary type manner. Think about the documents and things you might have to read, technical manuals, or you want to read some articles that might be for your own improvement at work or whatever, and you're like, and see how it's added now to my chat list here. I just took that 6-page, hard to read, poorly fonted article into something that's really just really one big paragraph. Maybe that should be broken in other paragraphs, right? So now I've got something that's easier for me to consume. In fact, here's a hot tip for you. Let's say I want to take this because it's a part of my chat where we're talking to a friend, and I'd say, can you make this into a bullet point format? All right, so bullet point, that's the French for point. That's not from my French friends. That's not French at all. So can you make this, I'm taking this part, because this is what we're chatting here, and I'm asking, can you take this and put this into a bullet point format? So already start doing that, see? So sure, here are the steps I'll focus in a bullet point form, right? Actually, it's actually taking the original article because it's pulling all this stuff, but it's also pulling from here. But it's pulling from the whole conversation to basically make this into something. Now, this is something that's really easier to read, right? I want a step-by-step thing on how to use this system, this autofocus system, so I can be more productive, right? And now it's walking through how to do it with a notebook, list of tasks. It's walking you right through to do that as you're looking at that. Talking about in this system, you work on the item for as long as desired versus, let's say, the Pomodoro technique. In fact, let's say if I like the system, I'm like, I could just build on that and say, I could ask the pros and cons of the system. But let's say I want to, could you compare autofocus to Pomodoro, which is another type of time management type technique, right? And Pomodoro does have limits as far as how long you spend on stuff, right? It says they're both time management methods that can help individuals increase their productivity and focus. And then I'll walk right through what the autofocus system is, and then they'll walk through what the Pomodoro system is. And then you could go from there. You could ask, like, what's the pros and cons of each? And you're really starting to expand on that because not only is it pulling from the article, but now it's pulling from the wider AI system. It's, so it's not limited to the article. It's pulling from the AI system. So just bear with me. Pros and cons of autofocus, right? So this is not pulling from the other stuff. If it's in the article, it might pull a little bit, but it's really pulling from a wider AI thing. So I'm not limiting myself. It's building on this chat, right? So this is nice, right? Maybe I looked at the autofocus up top here and had a nice summary, and I'm like, well, should I do this? Sure, here's the pros of doing this, but there's some cons too. What are the cons to it? Well, it may not be suitable for tasks that require more structured, scheduled approach. That need long focus over a longer period of time because it's more like short focus time periods. So it really gives me an idea. So just by doing that, I just learned the autofocus system and maybe how it compares to Pomodoro as an example. So using ChatGPT to basically take an article and boiling it down into something that's summarized, you can get the information you need quickly just from that. But then you can build on that and increase your education, your knowledge by asking questions about, give me examples, give me, what are the pros and cons? I could ask it for an example, give me an example. So all those kind of things you can do to kind of keep building it out to help with your education as well. One thing that's really interesting with ChatGPT is the translation ability as in translating language. So if I want to read something, let's say in a Chinese or Hindi or something like that, but I don't understand that language, which I don't, I understand English, I could get a document or maybe something from a website and I could input it into ChatGPT and it'll translate it for me. And this is more than like Google Translate where you're putting, it's better for shorter sentences, paragraphs, but this way I could take a whole document and put it in there and it'll translate it. So let me show you how that works, because depending on your situation, this could be really, really amazing and helpful. So let's take a look at that. So here I am at the Economic Times in Hindi. So this is a business website for like investors or business stuff in India. But this is the Hindi version versus as opposed to the English version. You can see this is in Hindi. But there's some that are in like green hydrogen mission, whatever is in English, but the rest is in Hindi. So if I clicked into this article, for example, let's say I'm interested in this mission. I could look into this and I can see a little bit in English, but mostly all of it is in Hindi there, right? So you look at all that is in Hindi. So how do I use ChatGPT to help me? Well, first off, I would want to copy and paste. And I've never tried this, where I'm going to copy in some of those pictures things. Hopefully I'll get rid of that. But let's try it and see. If not, I would just need to do the text itself. But I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, can you translate this, whatever document, article, it's actually a web page, but article into English. And then I'm just going to fix this up a little bit. There you go. And into English, I'll capitalize it. And then I'm going to copy paste my article here, right? And it looks like it didn't put in the, hopefully it took out the pictures and things, because that's ChatGPT said it's not really related to the formatting too. So, that's okay too. I just want to know what this is saying. I have no idea what this is saying right now. Hopefully it's okay. It's a green mission thing. It should be okay. And you can see I put in ChatGPT, hit my enter key, and then now it is converting all that entire article from Hindi into English. And how the Indian government's approved 19.7 billion rupees, about 207 million for National Green Hydrogen Mission, right? And so if I was curious about that, I now am not limited to only articles and things that are in English. I can get things that might be in other languages too as well. And particularly if it's something that maybe is more interesting from the source material, I'd rather hear about the mission in India from an Indian reporter or an Indian report perspective as an example, as opposed to getting a little tidbit from some US site that might not give you as much information. So think about that. If you have things you want to translate, it could be personal stuff, maybe you get a letter from a relative from the old country, so to speak, or it could be something related to business. You can just put it right in ChatGPT, look how fast it did it, and took that article and took it from Hindi to English really, really quick. So do I know if it's 100% perfectly accurate? I don't, but it looks pretty accurate to me. Even getting names in there, like Modi's name in there correctly and all that, so it's doing all that correctly. So I'm still pretty confident on it, but it's something it's worth a check too. But that's a pretty amazing thing you can do with ChatGPT in terms of translation. If you write articles or blog posts as part of your job function, maybe for your full-time career, or maybe you have a side gig where you're selling some things on the side, you have your website, and as part of that you might write articles or you write blogs, for example, and I do that. ChatGPT can be just amazing for that and really help you as far as creating like blog posts real quickly, and then you can add your own stuff into it, is the idea behind it. So I'm going to show you an example here with a blog I have, and I don't like writing blog posts. I'm better on camera. That's more my thing. I'm more of an educator, but I know by writing blogs that helps drive traffic to my website. So I want to do that, and so this is how I'm using ChatGPT to help me with that. So let's take a look at that. So here's my website. So I make courses on Udemy. I make leadership and management courses. I also have a lot of investing courses. I was fortunate to retire early because of my investing knowledge. So I have a site called Investing Education with Mr. B. My last name's Ballinger, Steve Ballinger, B, I'm Mr. B. Okay, there I am. Hello, I'm Mr. B. There I am. Okay, so Investing Education with MrB.com, that's the whole thing. And I sell my courses not only on Udemy, but I also have my courses on my own website, right? So I have all these different courses on my website. But to drive traffic to my website, I have a blog too. I'm not very good at keeping up with it, but now with ChatGPT, I'm getting a lot better. So let's say I want to write a blog article for my blog part of my website to try to drive traffic to it, right? I've got some blog articles here already, my top 5 investing mistakes, whatever, right? So I want to use ChatGPT to add to my blog, right? So and this is an I sell investing online training. So we're going to use that as an example. So let's say I want to write an article about swing trading versus day trading, right? It's kind of investing stuff and two different types of being an active trader. So I might start, my thing is, first I might want to know more. I kind of know, but let's say I wanted to know more, or here I could just start with this way. Could you write a blog about the difference between, this is how simple it can be, between day trading and swing trading? Now maybe you probably have heard of day trading, where you're opening and closing your positions in one day, but swing trading is a little different. It's still active trading. So let's see what ChatGPT comes back with. So sure, here's a blog post on the difference between day trading and swing trading. And then it's going to go into these two popular types of trading, and it's starting to build this out here that I can then take and then adapt from that. But it's already writing it as a blog post. It's writing in that conversational blog post style, or at least being a little better than, just lots of bullet points or things like that, like you'd have maybe in a presentation. It's talking about what is day trading, what is swing trading, and then I can take this and I can add an image of maybe a day trader or a person trading day trading. I can add an image into my actual blog of a person who's swing trading. I can add in my own stories or examples. Other thing I would want to add in here might be in a blog post, like a video in here, so because that helps drive traffic to blogs. If you have a video in your blog post, so maybe I have something from my YouTube channel here, and I certainly would want to add stuff in here about like my courses and how that could help somebody. So you could talk about these day trading and swing trading, but maybe I'd say, one of the big things is technical analysis for these types of traders. This is my knowledge coming in, and I have a 12.5-hour course on technical analysis. So in my blog post, I might want to put in there things about my course and have links to my course, and maybe there's a special in my course or whatever, right? So here's a nice little blog post on day and swing trading. And let's say I didn't really love this too much, or I want to add a little bit more depth on there. I could add maybe another part to it, like let's say, add a section on what are the pros and cons of day trading, all right? Hopefully, yeah, I got it right. Okay, pros and cons of day trading. And so that'd be another component. I could take things in, take things out, add things in, and start building my blog post there. Again, adding my own unique stuff. I'm not copying and pasting this. I'm making this my own as far as creating, this blog post. And the last thing I could do is I could take this where I write up a blog post about the difference between swing and day trading, and I could take that, and here it's giving the pro cons, and I say, could you give me 5 titles for this blog? So now it'll help me with my titles, and I can start looking at that from keyword search and SEO and all sorts of things that might be related to that. But instead of me trying to come up with a good hooky title, let ChatGPT try to give me some ideas. Day and swing trading, which is right for you? That's okay. Pros and cons, that's a little boring, and it's not swing trading. That's because I added that extra question. Understanding the difference, that's okay. Maximizing returns with day trading, risks and rewards. So if I wanted this to be more of a day trading article, that's people like that. That's a nice, that's a nice hitter. And then navigating the market guide to day trading and swing trading, I'd probably want to, that seems like a bigger, longer thing than I got so far. But as I build up, I could do that. So this maximizing returns is nice, or which is right for you is nice too. In fact, for this, if I'm really trying to explain the difference between them, this would probably be a more appropriate type of response. But I could do that, or I could say, could you give me 5 more, right? Let's say I didn't like him. I could just simply ask it to give me 5 more. So there I go. I've got the structure of a blog article. I've got a lot of it written already, or things I can adapt. I'm going to add in all my unique stuff because we're not copying and pasting. We're going to add in my own unique stuff. I'm going to have my video in there. I'm going to add keywords, specific keywords. I'm going to add things like links to my course, all this type of stuff. And then this is going to help me to kind of create either my own custom title or just adjusting the and just adjusting them a little different here. The day trading style is explained. You can see. So far, this one, this is a good one, which is right for you, or maximizing returns. That's always a good one too when you're talking about investing. So think about articles that you might want to write and use ChatGPT, and just start with that. Start broad, and then start narrowing it down with like pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages, whatever it might be. Unique things that you're bringing to it too. Make sure you make it unique to you, and that you're not just copying pasting AI. You're using have it be a helper for you, not a replacement for you. It's a helper for you. And though this could right now, I'm already well on my way to writing an article if I want to write this blog piece about day and swing trading, how quickly that really helped get me going versus spending hours trying to really outline this, research it maybe, and really put it together. This has really given me a fast head start by using artificial intelligence or AI and ChatGPT. I think another really strong use case too is writing effective copy and helping you build your copy for web pages, for your landing pages. And then you have someone who's skilled at putting that all together as far as your actual final web page, of course. But the content, the copy can be real helpful by leveraging ChatGPT. If you've ever tried to put together your own web page, you might outline it on paper and you're trying to get all these ideas and things, where this can help get you started in a real quick manner. Let's take a look at 2 examples. One is a product sale and one is more of a a service type sell as far as your web page. So let's say I know somebody, they make cutting boards, you know, you cut meat and stuff, but they're fancy cutting boards where they're in the shape of things, right? So let's say I want to create a web page copy for where we sell cutting boards, right? And each is handcrafted. For some key parts to it, each is handcrafted. Various shapes, like animals and birds. Birds are an animal, but let's see what it says. And you know, you might have other things in there too, as far as, you know, just put in there high quality. And I put in there that each is handcrafted. Yep, okay. So let's fix up quality here. Okay, so let's see what that comes back with. So this is the content for our web page. And so here it is. Welcome to our online store for handcrafted cutting boards. If we had the name, if I would have put the name in there, then they'd be using the name. At our store, they'd say at whatever, Steve's Cutting Boards, you know, or whatever. And would talk about, you know, the highest quality materials and all that. So I might want to put in there, you know, what are the materials, where I would be adding that in as a unique human being and building off that. But here you can see, take a look at our selection. So I'd be putting in the selection and all this. So it's practical, but it also has beautiful decorative pieces in any kitchen. Right? So, you know, it's a nice a conversation starter, all that stuff. So it's a nice way to kind of get you started as you start building out, and you can go deeper than that as a web page. Let's say we have a coaching or service type business, you know, it could be anything. Think of your own stuff, of course, but maybe like, you know, create, you know, web page copy for a professional life coach. Cover all areas, whatever that is. I'm not a professional life coach, so whatever all areas there, but maybe they'll also expand it. And it says, welcome to our professional life coaching services. You put in your company's name. Are you feeling stuck in your personal or professional life? Then you need a coach. Or, you know, we have a team. Maybe it's not a team, it's just you, so you'd want to certainly edit that out where it says we have a team of experienced and compassionate life coaches. Just say, I am an experienced and compassionate life coach, right? So you're using this to help generate ideas and generate stuff. And again, you can always regenerate ideas or build on things, or, you know, maybe you want to say list common coaching services, and, you know, start generating a list of common things, and then you can pull out of that the services that you offer or build on that, right? So maybe you do career coaching, maybe you do the life coaching and the different things in there with relationships. Maybe you're an executive coach. You know, this is like higher level summary, but then I might dig in deeper about, like, you know, that you specialize, let's say, as a life coach in relationships, health and wellness, personal growth, and work-life balance. You know, maybe that's what you do versus these other types of coaches, you know, or like a spiritual coach or whatever. So there's an idea of how you get started, and you're now building out some nice copy with a web page that you can then now fine-tune and make better for yourself. So again, so much faster than especially for folks who are not marketers or copywriters by profession. This can be a way to help get you a really good jump start by leveraging the artificial intelligence, and then you make it your own in your own unique way. Let's look at how you can leverage ChatGPT for your LinkedIn profile, and also how to write a quick LinkedIn article using ChatGPT as well, too, as far as our social business presence leveraging LinkedIn. So let's start with that. So let's go to the ChatGPT here, and we're going to look at LinkedIn, right? So let's say let's start with some basics, right? What are the key components of a LinkedIn? Actually, I wonder where, but they'll figure out what are the key components of a LinkedIn profile, right? So, and they'll just list the different components, and you can go through and you can build out your components as far as when you're doing a LinkedIn profile. Now, many of you probably already have a LinkedIn profile, so I'm just really doing this to kind of get that first basic outline stuff. Then I'll start taking sections. Now, I'm not going to go through every bullet point or anything like that. I'm just going to pick one and show you how we can expand on that, right? So, let's say for your headline, right? The short phrase that appears just below your name on your profile, it should briefly summarize your current position and skills, right? So maybe we would say, you know, write a headline for an accountant. Let's make it for a cost accountant. All right, let's see what that does. This is just general now. You would want to put in your own specific stuff, but let's say if you're a cost accountant, which is different than other types of accounting, here are some, they're going to give you some few options in here, things that you can put in your headline, or how you might want to make that look better, right? Cost accountant with 5 years experience, you put in how many years you've got, expert in financial planning, all that. You could take that, or you could say, could you give me more? And they'll give you more, and you can keep expanding on that as far as some different things for the headline. And you might find words you like proactive cost accounting. You might like that, or you might like the words financial modeling. So you can pull from those types of ideas and build your own headline, right? Or same thing with skills. So let's take what is a sample for a skills section for a cost accountant. Now, your own skills. You probably won't even need this, but if you're a cost accountant. But again, this can be real helpful as far as reminding you of some things. I know my wife is an accountant. She's not a cost accountant, but she's an accountant, and she forgets all the stuff that she does, right? And then she could take that and say, oh yeah, forecasting. She does forecasting. So you could explain that, build that out more. Could you give a brief summary of forecasting in cost accounting, right? So if you're really struggling for the words yourself, this is where ChatGPT can help start building an outline for you, start building it for you, in where you've got something already kind of started there. So it's really saving us a lot of time and helping us be more productive as we build out, let's say, our LinkedIn profile. So those are examples for a LinkedIn profile, and this gets, maybe you might want to cut back a little bit for example. All right, so now let's talk about a LinkedIn article, right? So it's the same kind of thing. Let's say you want to write in fact, let's go ahead and start a new chat here because it's LinkedIn, but it's a little different. Let's say, could you, see, I'm so polite, right? Could you write a LinkedIn article about work-life balance, or whatever it is you might want to have, right? So you could do a lot of research on work-life balance. You probably have your own ideas. Maybe you've got some good examples that you can put into your article. And this is where your uniqueness as a human being comes in versus artificial intelligence, is that you can get the information on kind of that, what is work-life balance, and maybe you can get some examples, some generic examples, but only you can provide your own specific real-life examples. And when people are reading and consuming stuff, they want to know, now it's AI generated. That's helpful for the context sometimes, or certainly help you in terms of development, but they want to know, your personal stories and all that, right? So here's a nice little article about work-life balance, and it says about setting boundaries, make time to enjoy, take breaks, communicate with your employer, all this different stuff, and give you an example of turning off your email or phone, or some examples. And then we could say, you might have your own examples of how do you actually practice self-care? Do you exercise? What kind of exercising do you do? What works for you? This is where you can build that out. Or we could ask ChatGPT to expand on it. Could you expand on number 1, right? So, oops, too many requests in 1 hour. I got to try later. I got too many requests. So that's an idea as far as how you could use ChatGPT in terms of helping you, write your blog articles or do whatever you might want it to do. Another way you can use ChatGPT is for like copywriting and stuff around your advertiser and marketing, whether you're, let's say, doing Facebook ads or Google ads, whatever it might be. You can use this to help kind of brainstorm or get ideas, or maybe even put into the type of length and formatting that can be helpful for you. Let's look at a quick example of that. Let's say we've got a restaurant that we own, and I'm asking ChatGPT to please write a Facebook ad for a pizza restaurant in Midtown New York, New York City. Best pizza by the slice, unique deep dish style. So the more you add in these types of things, the more it can give you back. If you just say pizza restaurant, you might get a nice generic thing, but let's say I want something a little bit more specific. So I'm going to hit enter here, and let's see what they come up with. So this is a Facebook ad. And you can see they've got attention pizza lovers in Midtown, New York. Come and taste the best ever you'll have. We have pizza with slice, our unique dish style that won't find anywhere else. Stop by and satisfy your pizza cravings today, right? Or maybe I want to add on there, plus we have free garlic knots. If you ever not had a garlic knot, go to New York and have a garlic knot. Get on an airplane right now, go to New York City, have a garlic knot. You'll love them. Free garlic with every order. All right. Let's see how that does for us. Put on here plus, and So now they've adjusted what they've written before, but I forgot to add in garlic knots, let's say, and now they added that in there, right? So stop by, get your pizza cravings today. And let's say I didn't really like that one. Well, we know we can try typing in something different, or just do a regenerate response, and it'll come up with a new different way of doing it. Very slight difference. So you can see it's the length that makes for a good Facebook post. Again, if I have multiple versions, I can just use these arrows and go back between versions. All right, let's say now I want to take that. So there's my Facebook ad. Now I might want to say, please make this as a paid Google ad, right? So, just basically take kind of the same thing and make it a Google ad. You might need your, a Google type headline or whatever, as far as looking at your advertising in there. Like create a Google, let's see if it does this, Google headline for an ad, right? So that's where I might have, this would be the top part, satisfying your pizza cravings today, and then you'd have this part afterwards when you have your Google ad, right? Could you make this as a tweet? All right, so how many characters we got in a Twitter and a tweet? We have less characters, so it should ideally make it less, and so it did. So it's highlighting this, and again, if we didn't like that response, we could do it a different way or regenerate response. So you can see some of the copy, and you can take this and change it, change the order. Maybe you say don't miss out on this delicious opportunity. You'd say it's fabulous or something. Not really a word, but you get the idea of how you can really now creatively really start getting ideas and brainstorming with your friend, the AI friend here, to help put you together these types of social media marketing type posts and types of things as well. ChatGPT can be also integrated into your own systems and things. You might need a little bit more programming ability around that. You might want to look deeper than this course as far as actual programming, creating your own AI that works within your own company systems, and maybe rely on some experts around that. But companies are already using AI right now, have for a long time actually, in terms of integrating it into their own systems, maybe their websites or for customer service, whatever it might be. Let me show you one example here. You're probably fairly familiar with chatbots, for example. So here's a web page from Norwegian Cruise Line, right? Cruise Line, and they got a sale or whatever. But you see how they have the pop-up with the let's chat, right? And you put in your name and what can we help you with today, and you put in a subject like you put your name, you're interested in shore excursions, and you might type in something like on the Panama Canal cruise, what's the shore excursion to see the cliff divers in Acapulco like, or do I have to be physically fit to do that, or whatever it might be, right? So when you have that come back, you think you're talking to a person. Most cases you're not. They might have a name like, hi, this is Marina, how can I help you? Well, Marina is really just an AI. It's a chatbot, right? So it's going to answer those basic questions and free up customer service people to focus on the more challenging questions versus basic questions. A basic question like for a cruise line might have been the one I gave you, or what is the cancellation policy if I can't make my cruise? Well, those are policies and things that can be programmed in the chatbot that'll spit back the answer for you, right back for you, right? So, and then the customer service people can focus again on the bigger things. So those are things that you can use as far as with chatbots and integrating AI even to your own business. Maybe you have a small business that you're working with, or you're a solo entrepreneur or something. You can look into chatbots and understand that that's where a big application of artificial intelligence is too, and things like ChatGPT play a part in that. Just might need some more expertise than I can provide you on how to actually do the program and put it on your website. I think when it comes to the world of work, we're going to start seeing video even more than ever. And what I mean by that, we're already seeing lots of video out there, of course, but we're going to be seeing where I believe that regular, everyday workers are being asked to make videos that can be shared with team members or, through the company or with customers or whatever. So, having skills around video and maybe editing videos and all that's going to be kind of growing. So there are ways that we can take ChatGPT, what it's good at, like maybe writing copy or creating a script for your video, and then using other AI systems systems to help us create these videos and edit these videos very simply and easily, and maybe even put in our voice and all that too. And I'm going to show you that here in a moment, how you could do this even today to kind of give you a future view of what this might look like. So let's take a look at that. So let's say you've been asked to provide a short little training thing about how to lead a meeting, right? We've done that before, right? So let's say how to lead a meeting. So I'm going to put in there into ChatGPT, like I might say create a video script on how to lead a meeting, right? So you've been asked to do that for new hires or something like that, and you're supposed to create this video, right? So first what we're going to do is we're going to create a script, then we're going to record I'm going to show you how to basically record the video without you being on camera, by the way. You don't have to be on camera for all this, and it's how we're going to use this by leveraging the AI. So first thing we're going to do is, get the content here, right? So here it's got the outline, it's got the script, and it's going to give you an example of this, right? Now how the outline could be transformed into a script, right? So sure, here's a basic outline for a script on how to lead a meeting, and then it's actually turned it into a script, basically, where it might not be exactly what I'm looking for, but it's good enough for our purposes here. All right, so nice little good script. Even says, have a great day. Isn't that nice? It's very friendly. All right, so let's say I'm going to copy this. Like here's a basic outline for a script on how to lead a meeting, right? So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go into a program called Descript, right? So this is more AI stuff. This is a company called Descript. They have a free version. They should still have a free version. If not, they have paid versions too. And I'm going to title my video. Now I'm going to edit and create my video. I'll call it just leading a meeting, right? Training. And then we'll have some final output as far as a video. I can just start writing, right? So I'm just going to copy paste this all in as far as what I did. Got to type there. There we go. And so everything I had from ChatGPT has now been input in there, right? So here is this is now my canvas. This is now a video. So you can see the timeline at the bottom here, but I don't have to be an expert in video editing. This is text-based, right? So from here, I could, maybe break this up into sections or add different stuff. I'm going to keep it real simple, and we'll just have it where you can now add things to this video. So let's say I want to add from their library of videos or images. Maybe I want to have an image of a meeting, right? So we're going to have an image of the meeting, and the video is going to play over this image. And this comes with a lot of different video images. Maybe we like this one. Somebody's leading the meeting. And now if I click on that, it's going to basically download this media and insert it. So I've taken the text from ChatGPT, put it into a video editing software, which is the Descript. It's not based where you have to have a lot of editing skill. You can just edit text out. Like if I just wanted to take out some text, I could just delete it. So basically I'm editing this, but I have no thing recording here, right? You might be like, well, that's great. I have my text, my script. I have a cover image, which the voiceover can play right over this. I can easily actually adjust this in the program. This is just more of the program stuff to fill up my full canvas so it shows full screen once we produce it. And then this is where the AI comes in, right? So see where it says speaker here, I can choose like stock voices, and these are all individual stock voices in here that I could choose from that are already recorded, or I can do what's called creating my own voice. Well, it's called creating my own voice, but basically if I send them video files or audio files of me talking, it can create an audio file that'll know millions of words and stuff on the paid version. 3,000 words, I believe, is on the free version of my own voice. So this is a voice I've created in Descript of my voice. So if you were to listen to this, you would hear my voice talking. And is it a little robotic? Yeah, it's a little robotic for now. It's not terrible, but it's a little robotic. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you how to export the video and all that. You might not need to do that. But here's a simple way where I created when I wanted to say like a script, I could read that into a camera, just like with a teleprompter or anything. It's like your local news. I could put it in an editing program like Descript. And then with Descript, they have the AI that basically transforms a recording of me into a recorded voice that then can be applied no matter what I'm saying, and just adapt it to the individual words that are written there. So there's a merging of AI, ChatGPT, and video editing as well. OpenAI, which of course makes ChatGPT and maintains it, has another service called DALL-E 2, and that helps take things and creates pictures or images. So using artificial intelligence to create custom, brand new creative type images. So let's take a look at that, because it's kind of a similar concept, but instead of being text-based, it's more image-based. So I'm over here at openai.com/DALL-E2, DALL-E-2. There will be new versions and so of this coming out all the time, of course, as well. And so this is DALL-E 2, and you can see here it says it's a new AI system that can create realistic images and art from a description in natural language, right? So you write and type in natural language, and it's going to create art out of that. Just like we created a blog or a written type of thing out of ChatGPT, this is where you can create custom art. And let me show you some of the examples of stuff they have here. So you would type in, let's say something like an astronaut, and you want the astronaut to be riding a horse in a photorealistic style, right? And so here we have this. You just type that in, and then this comes out when you're using DALL-E. It comes up with an astronaut riding a horse in this style, and you could choose different styles of these horses, based on what you type in there, right? If you're typing in different things, it comes up with different versions. So it can also expand the image beyond what is the original canvas. So I believe this is the girl with the pearl earring, a famous pearl earring, famous art. And it's expanding out further on the art to kind of build it all in. So it starts with like that close-up picture as the original and starts building it out a little bit to, if you wanted something that was more, built out, or like if the artist created a bigger picture, using that artificial intelligence. A little scary on that one for sure. It can make edits to existing images from natural language captioning and all that. So you can see here's number 1, and then this becomes this, right? So I'm selecting different things, and I might be editing it because I'm looking at different things. Like I wanted to add, I want to add a pelican, right? I believe that's a pelican, right? And I could say I could see where I want it to be. I want the pelican here in that style. Do I want it here in the water here in a different style? See what's going on the right-hand side here? Or do I want it over here, over by the window, a couple of pelicans looking in? And it's editing and changing images based on that. Take an image and create different variations of it inspired by the original, right? So here's the original image, the girl with pearl earring, and then here's a variation of that image. And you can have it regenerate and try all sorts of different variations. Now, obviously, these aren't original works of art, but you get the idea. So how could you use that? Where you're using maybe artificial intelligence to do things like with a dog or logos or dinosaurs on planets. It's basically limited to your imagination what you could do with it, but it also can be real useful as far as maybe creating your own art for your own personal use, but also maybe something for a logo or something for a business or some type of art you might have in an office, whatever. We were creating this original art. So this is AI made original type stuff based on typing in the text or making the edits with the text to bring out what you want, right? That's back to the astronaut. Let's say if it was teddy bears and they're mixing chemicals. Let's say they're shopping for groceries, and instead of this style in ancient Egypt, right? So look at these bears, they're chopping something, or as a one-line drawing. So you could do it that way. So that's the idea of what DALL-E can do too. So it's really just an imagination of how you can use different things to create individual artwork, right? And this is a crayon. Let's do underwater 1990s. There you go. They're working on AI there, the teddy bears. So that's the idea. Just more things that are coming around artificial intelligence, but you can use DALL-E 2 right now as far as with these images as well. And what you've been learning with this ChatGPT course, same concept, natural language, type in what you want, and it'll create the image for you. An interesting thought around ChatGPT, and you might be thinking of this already yourself, is will ChatGPT and other AI systems replace Google in terms of search? And that's a great debate as far as whether that'll happen, but there's some things that Google search does well, better than ChatGPT, and there's some things that I think ChatGPT does better as well. So let's kind of compare the two real quickly so you get a feel for what system might work better than another for you. But it's an interesting thing. Here's an article I found interesting where Microsoft hopes OpenAI's Chatbot, which is ChatGPT, will make Bing smarter, their search engine, right? It's smart. ChatGPT's accuracy will be key to timing of any rollout. So you can see here's Microsoft getting involved in this right away, saying, how can we partner with ChatGPT to maybe make Bing better and lure people away from rival Google, as it says here. They're going to try to lure people away. So you can see some integration happening. But let's put the two to the test right now, and let's see what each does well. All right, so we got Google here, ChatGPT. Let the battle begin, right? So let's say I want to get pizza at a pizza place. There's several locations in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the United States, called Punch Pizza, right? So I want to know, are they open and where are the locations, right? So if I put that into ChatGPT, I might say, where is Punch Pizza in Minneapolis? And let's see what it says, right? And you can see, I am sorry, but we're unable to browse the web and do not have information about specific businesses or their locations. They even tell you, try things like Google Maps or Yelp or something like that, right? Because they're not a web browser, they're not web crawling, they're taking data and all sorts of reams and tons of information that's in their database that they've been building. And you can see from the course how it's really able to answer almost everything, but it's not a web type thing, right? So let's say if I wanted to, where is Punch Pizza in Minneapolis? ChatGPT couldn't do it. Well, do you think Google could do it? Of course they can, right? So here's Google. You got the different locations, what time they close. This one's temporarily closed. This one closes at 9 p.m. This one 8:30. And as I go through, you can even see where they're located on the map here in Minneapolis, right? And then if I wanted to know what was in the types of pizzas they serve, or more information, or go to their homepage, that's where Google really shines in terms of that type of search, where ChatGPT doesn't. It's not a web crawling, web search type thing. Who knows? Maybe someday it will be. So there's always still going to be a place for search like that. But if I put in, let's say, what is Neapolitan pizza, and how different than deep dish. All right, these are different types of pizzas. Deep dish, right? And I didn't really get close to spelling that right. There we go. All right, so ChatGPT, this is where ChatGPT would shine. I'm not, this is where I'm kind of getting that information. Also, Pizza Napolitana is from Naples, Italy. I have been to Naples, Italy. By the way, if you get a chance to go to Naples, it's awesome. Go to Naples. Pompeii is not too far from there. You can go to Pompeii. So there you go. There's my here's my travel guide. Go to Napoli and have real Neapolitan pizza. You'll be glad you did, right? And it talks about it's thin and soft with a puffed up edge and all sorts of stuff. And then deep dish pizza, by the way, is this, and real famous in Chicago, all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm getting all my answers. If I put that into Google, and how different than and you can see it's still going, giving me more information. But let's just jump right to Google here, and we'll put that in. The same request, right? So I can find something like here's a nice site they'll tell me the difference, or at least give me a couple lines on it. I might have to search through it, but there's a little bit there. That's okay. What are the different pizza types? What's the best one? Well, now this is I'm going to have ads and that stuff, and here's quick links to a lot of different stuff, gluten-free pizza or whatever, right? So I can get at that information and might have to search a little bit. Now this was an easier search versus something like, write a web page for me or something. You can see how this does this real well. Like if I ask Google, like, create a tweet for a pizza restaurant, right? I'm going to put that in, and is this just going to give me information like 8 ways you should be using Twitter for restaurant marketing, and you can read an article and you get ads and accept all cookies and all sorts of stuff. A lot of extra filler, all sorts of things, maybe some things to try to sell you stuff, Twitter marketing for restaurants, but it's not really creating the tweet. It's just giving me lots of information or whatever. Whereas if I did that, of course, with ChatGPT, which is more like conversational type thing, if I put that in, create a tweet for a pizza restaurant, not a lot of information, but then I get the come save your cravings here at this pizza restaurant, made fresh. You even got hashtags in there, hashtag pizza, hashtag foodie, hashtag yum, yummy, yum, yum, right? Stop by tonight or order online, right? I mean, they know nothing about my pizza place, but you can see I've already got it kind of started where this is, I'm reading all these articles and all sorts of things. So really what I'm trying to say is there are places for both. However, I think ChatGPT is going to make a tremendous amount of inroads in on Google. If I was, part of Alphabet, which owns Google, I would certainly be concerned. I would be concerned that Microsoft Bing is starting to integrate ChatGPT. Would not be surprised to me. Maybe at the time you're watching this, that Google is starting to do things. They're already doing things with AI. Google and Alphabet is already doing AI stuff. It's just a matter of will they integrate maybe with ChatGPT as one example. And I would be concerned. I mean, think about like YouTube. YouTube was this big dominant force. Then you had, and then you had TikTok, and so TikTok has taken a lot of market share away from YouTube, as an example, right? So I think there'll both be space for both, but it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. So a very, very interesting thing to be maybe watching. Either way, we're the winners, right? Especially if this is kind of free or at least ad support or however it might be done. ChatGPT is going to be charging at some point. I just feel it's going to happen. Who knows what will happen with Google? They've been free running ad-based. They've been struggling with that recently. So, all that would be more about thinking like, how can we benefit this? How can we benefit from this? But if you look at these use cases I've been sharing with you, depending on what the cost is, I certainly would be willing to pay money for the ChatGPT because it's made a great difference for me in terms of my own productivity and knowledge and all sorts of things. So I'm a big believer in it. It's just a matter of how much they might charge someday in the future. But there's space again for both Google, ChatGPT, and even Microsoft Bing. Okay, so let's talk ethics a little bit, because this course is all about doing things in an ethical manner, ways to increase your knowledge or your productivity leveraging ChatGPT. But you probably can look at this and say, and this is a big concern out there, like, well, I'm writing a blog post, I could just have ChatGPT do it and just copy paste. Or even worse things, and you may have heard of these things like for college or university applications or writing papers in school. I could just do enough questions in ChatGPT, and if they wanted me to write a paper about ancient Egypt, I could do it. And it might be a pretty good paper, for example, and not do any of the research, not do any of the work at all. I mean, wouldn't that be terrible? Or certainly lying about different things. So with the ethics part of it, it's the originality and the creation, the stuff that you do, and how you take this and maybe make it your own and add in more to make it unique to you. That is real critical. But there's certainly definitely an unethical component, just like really anything in the world. I mean, there's a lot of great things about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and blockchain technology, for example. But then there's the dark side too of laundering money and supporting terrorism and all that as well. And fake accounts and losses related to that. So that's the dark side. There's a dark side to ChatGPT as well, and it can get real dark. I'm going to show you an example here how dark this could be, right? So this is not what you do not want to do this, but let's say this is what somebody could do. So if I'm over at ChatGPT, and let's say I want to write an essay about, and I want to apply to a university, and I want to write an essay, right? I can ask it to do that, and I could make up all sorts of stuff. Let's say, write a college entrance essay about me. We'll call me Steve Smith, just to have something. And let's say I was on the swim team. In fact, which I never was, I'm not a great swimmer. In fact, I was the captain of the swim team, valedictorian, and let's say I overcame something. Let's say, I can't spell valedictorian. Valedictorian. This is why I'm not the valedictorian, right? Maybe they'll figure it out for me. And let's say also I overcame something, I missed a year of school due to a rare disease, but overcame it. Make up your own disease there, right? All right, so let's see. So none of this is true, by the way. We'll see what it spits back here. But none of this is true. I did not have a rare disease. I was not the valedictorian. Come on, see how highest grades in class. Fill in valedictorians. Again, why I was not the valedictorian. Hey, I got good grades in my school. I have an MBA, ran a 3.95 out of 4. I'm doing okay, but can't seem to type or spell. So this is what we got in here. This is all fake. It's all a lie. What would ChatGPT do? Now let's talk ethics, right? Dear admissions committee, my name is Steve Smith. I'm running your prestigious university, so that's a little, I was the captain of my team, and I consistently earn the highest grades in my class. Oh, I believe that drive and determination, that I have the drive and determination to succeed at university. Do I? I don't know. One aspect, I've been tested, strengthened over the years of my resilience. Oh, I'm so resilient. During my junior year of high school, I was diagnosed with a rare disease that required me to miss a full year. It was difficult and trying, but I refused to let it define or hold me back, right? With the support of my family and coaches, I was able to overcome this obstacle and return to school stronger than before. Man, this is pretty motivational. I wish it was true. None of it's true. In addition to this, on the swim team, we just add in stuff. I did community volunteering. I helped with charities, fundraising events. Maybe I could make up a charity or two I did. Maybe I helped like kittens who are lost and needed to find their way home. I don't know. And then it's, wraps up. I encountered my determination, resilience, commitment to make a difference will make a valuable addition to your community. Thank you for considering my application. I just wrote a college admissions committee application. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, actually. That's all a lie. It's all based on lies. So please don't do that. Don't do things based on lies. Bad karma, it'll come back and get you. But you're going to see a lot of stuff about artificial intelligence, and there's always bad actors and bad people out there who are going to use this to their advantage and do things like this. And so organizations, you're going to start seeing a lot of things in the news is how do they combat this? How do admissions committee combat this? A lot of committees are saying we're not even going to ask for college essays anymore because we know that they could be all fake. There are like writing papers in school or term papers. There's ways to see if somebody bought a term paper online, and maybe they'll come up with ways with this, but you can write something a little bit more original with ChatGPT, add in a little bit more unique stuff, and you've really done little work and you haven't done the studying. That's going to hold you back in your life, by the way, but it's a problem people are facing. So with that, don't do things unethical. If you think it's unethical, it probably is. And think about GPT as a tool. ChatGPT is a tool to help you succeed, to help you be your own unique and creative and great self, not a replacement to do, easy stuff by just copying and pasting. So that's my thoughts on ethics, but it will continue to be a big issue, I believe, with any type of artificial intelligence going forward. Certainly the ethics around that has many, many layers that we're going to start seeing around this. But use it in a way that is ethical and that works for you in a good manner. So ChatGPT can do all this truly amazing stuff. It's truly, truly amazing, and I love it. And it can do all this great stuff. But there are some limitations. Nothing's perfect, right? Particularly in the AI world, right? So let's talk about a few limitations of ChatGPT to be aware of. One is it's based off a database, right? It's collecting all this information from different written things, from different sources, and pulling this all together, right? So it's an extensive database. It's massive, but it's more related to the database as opposed to like web crawling or something like that. So, so ChatGPT might have some things where it might be missing pieces from their database. I've never run into anything, by the way, where I've asked it for something and it just didn't have anything. But it might have some differences between, diversity of languages or experiences or cultural diversities. So sometimes those responses might not be in the context for you as much as maybe for somebody else. That can happen, or that's a potential limitation or is a limitation in ChatGPT. Also, ChatGPT is all about machine learning, right? And algorithms teaching the machine keeps learning, and it's trained by the data that's given. So, if the data that's given to it is biased, or more so if it's like faulty or incomplete, well, then the training model around ChatGPT can be, a little bit limited too as well. And then also it's very resource intensive, right? It pulls from a lot of resources. It's, when we see it and it comes back with answers so quickly, it takes a lot of resources to make that happen. So certainly right now there might be some limitation for like mobile devices or low power devices or things like that. So do be aware that because it's resource intensive, try it yourself, try it in different, whether it's on a desktop or a laptop or whether it's on your mobile device, try it in different ways, but understand that could be a limitation potentially because it's very resource intensive to give you all this great information. Also time, the timeline, the more recent timing and all that, right? So, it's not designed to give you coverage or things about most recent events. It's usually going to be maybe a year, maybe a little bit more in arrears, or you're looking at data from, a year back. So, which if something's more evergreen, like, how do I achieve work-life balance, or how do I debug this piece of code, or how do I translate this document into something I can read? It can do all that. Those are more evergreen things versus something that's more time related. Like if I want wanted to say, if I asked ChatGPT, what's the current schedule for the English Premier League, as far as football, soccer, whatever your country you're from, it's not going to be able to tell me that current schedule that's active today. It could go back and tell me stuff about the English Premier League or some things about rules or whatever it might be, but it won't have that most current information. Or is my favorite restaurant open? If I, like you could do on a Google search, and I could say, this is where Google can be better than ChatGPT, and we have a lesson around which is where do each one fit. But like for Google, I can find my restaurant and I can see what hours they're open, where ChatGPT can't give me that current data. And then lastly, two last things real quickly. One is cost. Right now it's free. That could change. I could be saying it's free right now and it's now pay. I don't think I'll update this lesson just for that. I'm just going to say it's free now, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a paid version or however that works out. Maybe there's ads that go with it. We'll see how that plays out. But right now it's free, and it's because it's in beta testing and all that, and it's really a great tool. There's no ads on it, and there's no cost to it. Don't be surprised that changed. So if you're watching some of the videos and things like, hey, where's your ads, or how much does that plan cost? That's something that's coming. This is early stuff that's going to give you everything you need to be successful with it. But understand there's no there might be costs later down the road. And then lastly, it's not designed. It's AI, so it's not designed to give you real creative or original thought. This is where us as human beings come in, and yay, human beings, right? I love ChatGPT. I like human beings a lot better, because human beings provide that real creative or original thought. ChatGPT can provide outlines, they can write blog posts, they can provide a lot of information, but we have our own original types of thoughts. We could write a blog. ChatGPT could write a blog on work-life balance. It'd be a nice blog. You could put it up there with very little adjusting, though, how ethical is that? But you could do it. But making that blog better would be to include things like your personal experiences. How do you do meditation? Work-life balance, right? How do you protect your time or do meditation? If you believe in exercise, something like that, what type of exercise you're doing? That's all unique to you, where ChatGPT should say, you should meditate, maybe exercise, and protect your time, right? So understand that there's limitations of ChatGPT, but the only way to really discover the limitations is by using it yourself and using it the way that you want to use it as a unique human being, and seeing what it can do for you, and then also understand there are limitations and what it cannot do for you. And it's kind of fun to play with in that way too, and really push it and see how far you can push it. So in addition to your work life, there's a lot of ways you can use ChatGPT in your personal life too, and some fun ways to do it. And we're going to look at a few of them here. One we're going to look at is, and this is true, I had to really do this. I needed a gift idea for my wife, and she had just really got into gardening, is new into gardening, really into gardening. And I have no idea about gardening. I have no idea what to buy her. I'd buy her a rake or something terrible, maybe some, who knows, like a little hoe or something that's just boring and dumb. So I didn't know what to get her, right? But she was watching some videos and things, and she was talking about how, there's this really cool Japanese gardening stuff. And that's all I know, right? There's cool Japanese gardening stuff. Where do I go with that, right? So I go to ChatGPT, right? So let's say I go to ChatGPT and I put in here Japanese gardening knife or Japanese gardening tools as a gift. Right? Let's put that in and see if I can start narrowing this down to get some ideas of stuff. They can be thoughtful and practical, and here's some stuff, right? There's bonsai scissors, a hori-hori knife. This looks interesting. Versatile. That's actually what I found. It was versatile tool used for planting, weeding, and dividing plants. Because she's always complaining about all the work she has to do to put in stuff for her plants, and whether it's weeding them or putting in new ones and all this. Sounds like this hori-hori knife can do everything. But I have no idea. It gives me a little description on what a hori-hori knife is, but I'd like to know more. Like maybe I could type in and go deeper, see if this is the right gift. Like how do you use hori-hori knife with examples? I like putting there with examples, right? And I'm just really trying to see, is this the right gift for my wife, right? And so it then talks more here and it breaks it out in more detail. So then when I give it to her and she says, well, what's this? I can say, oh, it's a hori-hori knife. It's really good for planting. It's great with planting. You can also use it for weeding. Do you got plants to divide? It's really good at that. I think it's really great for cultivating soil too, or transplanting, moving plants over. I just really care about you, Helen, my wife, and I really want to understand what you're doing. And so I think this hori-hori knife Merry Christmas or Happy Birthday, here you go, right? It was her birthday gift, right? And then I sound really smart because now I know about hori knives. So I got her a hori knife. Now, what I didn't know is if you look at a hori knife, these look like they're dangerous, right? They're sharp edge. They got a razor edge. They've got a serrated edge. It's got depth and all that kind of stuff on it too. I mean, these things look like husband killers to me, right? I don't know if this is the best gift. Don't make her mad, because the hori knife could be turned on me and not on the plants. But here was an idea where, just for fun, I used ChatGPT, and I got her a great gift, an unexpected gift. I didn't tell her it was ChatGPT. Actually, later I did, and she's like, "Oh, the ChatGPT stuff, huh? Okay, oh." But she still loves her hori knife, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, sorry, I'm not a gardener, right? But I just knew a little bit, like, oh, she was interested in some type of Japanese tools for gardening. From that, I could get to gift ideas. But I could have started about just gardening tools, could have started broader that way. But by narrowing it in and giving ChatGPT good information, I was able to get a nice gift for my wife. So that's a fun way you can use ChatGPT too. Another fun way you could use ChatGPT is to write music with it. I mean, if you can write blog posts or articles or reports and boring, reports for work or whatever, business cases, maybe you could write something fun, like write some music, right? So at least, and again, you're going to be your own creative self, but we're going to use ChatGPT to see if we can kind of start get us started here, get the creative juices flowing. So I don't write songs for a living, never written a song in my life. In fact, I've never used GPT for this either, but we're going to do it right now, and we're going to live on the edge and see how it goes here, right? So I'm going to go into my ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, I'm going to be real nice because I've never done this before. Please write a song for me, all right? And what do I want the song to be about? Let's say it's a children's song. So we're going to make it a fun little children's song, right? And it's about a cat who who gets lost but finds his way home to his mother in the end. All right. This is like Beatles stuff here, right? This is like the Beatles, Rolling Stones, Taylor Swift, whoever your favorite artist is. Please write a song for me, children's song. So it's going to be a children's song. It's about a cat who gets lost and finds his way into his mother in the end. So that's all I got, right? Is this going to write me a song? Let's see what it does. Certainly, here's a song I've written for you. What? Verse 1. There once was a kitty cat. He loved to play and chat. Oh, lovely. He roamed the neighborhood all day, but one day he lost his way. And then the chorus, right? Oh, kitty, kitty, don't you stray. Find your way back home today. Your mommy is waiting. She'll be glad to have her little kitty back. And then you do the verse, and then you do a chorus, and there's another verse, and you do a chorus, right? Not bad, actually, for a children's song. Man, this is a children's song, right? So this is, I don't know, surprisingly good. I could, and because it's pulling from data and stuff, it's not plagiarism. I'm not copying another song, but I could do this as a kid's song, and this is what it came back with. So that's kind of clever and cool, nice little kid's song, right? So now let's say, can you make this an adult rap song? All right, so we're going to go from kids to rap. I mean, I'm pretty good where we're at here. I'm not sure if this is going to change much. I could have regenerate or whatever. But certainly, here's an adult rap song. Oh, hopefully there won't be any language here. I'm a kitty, yeah, that's me. Living life wild and free. I roam these streets all day and night, but one day I lost my sight. Oh, kitty, kitty, don't you stray. Find your way back home today. Your mama is waiting. She'll be glad to have her little kitty back. Peace. All right, that was awful. So first off, the writing's good. My singing and rapping is awful. And how uncool is it to rap in like a suit coat? No. But either way, how is this going to change music? Are people going to be able to write lots of songs and really, maybe try to make this better? But right now, that looked pretty good, right? So, again, if you want to write like a little children's song, let's go back up here to our little kitty here. And maybe you want to write a little custom song for your little child and make it special for them. Maybe added things like the kitty cat's name is your own cat's name. We used to have a cat, his name was Angus. So maybe instead it says, there once was a kitty cat, there was once was a kitty cat named Angus. And the story is about Angus, our cat. And that might be really clever and cool for a little kid, right? And wouldn't that be fun? So that's a fun way that you can use ChatGPT to start generating ideas. If you were to ask me, like, write a song about a kitty cat who lost his way or got lost, it would take me a full days and days, and it'd be terrible, where this is something that's more rhythmical and right. So this is another interesting way for fun. You can play around and have fun with ChatGPT. I'm going to try another way that I've never tried before, which is you could do maybe poetry. For example, if I can write verse, if I can write text, maybe I could write poetry. I've never written poetry before. I'm terrible at it. Not a big fan either. But maybe let's say I want to write a nice poem for my wife as something, clever I can give her on her birthday, along with her murderous, hoary knife that ChatGPT helped me to find or whatever. So let's write a poem here in ChatGPT just for fun, some fun things you can do. And I could just say, write a poem. And my wife likes gardening, right? Write a poem about gardening. Let's say about the joys of gardening. Is there joys in gardening? I'm not a gardener. Seems like a lot of weed pulling. But joys of gardening, and then you could put in things like in the style of, let's say, of Emily Dickinson, right? The famous poet. I only know a couple. Emily Dickinson. All right. Okay. And now it's going to, look how fast it is. It's going to come back about the joys of gardening are many and true, a peace that comes from the earth and the dew, the feel of the soil between your fingertips, and so on, right? The scent of blooms. I mean, this is I would tell her, because I'm an honest person and I don't do unethical things. But if you're not an honest person, you want to just take this all for your own and say, oh, Helen, my lovely wife, I love you so much. I wrote a poem for you, and it's about gardening. It's about the joys of gardening. But isn't that crazy where ChatGPT is not copying a poem from Emily Dickinson. It's not taking Emily Dickinson and plagiarizing it. It's in the style of Emily Dickinson, and it's about gardening, but it's not her actual work. So it's not plagiarism or anything. It is a unique piece of work done by artificial intelligence, and then you add more to it to make it truly unique and more human than that, right? So there, we just wrote a poem in the style of Emily Dickinson, right? So let's say, for fun, let's say we want to do the same thing, and because we have this chat now going on, we can just build on this. I don't have to start a new chat or anything. I'm going to say, in the style of, is it T.S. Eliot? Shows you what I know about poetry, right? So now we got the joys of gardening, vast and profound. So now we're taking a different thing. The sweat on the brow, the dirt on your hands. You see how the style is different, a little bit different in terms of style, both what's being said, but also how it's being said. So take up your tools and tend your plot and find the joy in simple things that cannot be bought. Oh my goodness. And if I do the same thing, let's say let's do one more, Walt Whitman. And you guys can have your own fun with this. And it's the same thing. See how they're different, and you can regenerate this and try different things. There, I just wrote 3 poems about gardening with 3 different styles. And I've never written a poem before in my life, and they're not terrible. It is gardening, but it's not bad. I mean, it's not bad, and maybe I could pull from these 3, add my unique stuff, maybe I could say, do I want to do this? Write a poem about gardening, and the gardener is my wife, and the gardener, let's get crazy, is my love, Helen. Her name is Helen, my lovely gardener wife, who is also an accountant. And yes, Helen is an older style name. She is not like 106 years old. Oh my goodness. Helen, my love, the gardener divine, her hand in the soil of beauty so fine. Wow. Now, again, you can, if you're a professional writer, if you're you major in poetry and all this, you can take a look at this and you can see whether this is any good. But boy, if I wrote this, Helen, my love, the gardener so true, her passion for life, a sight to view. Oh my gosh. She's either going to love it or be thrown up at this point. So, but I'm just trying to show how you can have fun with GPT too. And really the limitation, the biggest limitation besides the database on it, but the biggest real limitation is your imagination. If you can imagine like writing a poem for your longtime wife, the love of your life, who is a gardener divine, and create a poem with no experience, I don't know, I think that's pretty cool and maybe worth a look, and maybe having fun with it too. In addition to how you can really help you be successful at work, and that's the real key thing. So have fun with ChatGPT as well, in addition to using it in both your work life and your personal life. Congratulations, you completed the course. That's so great. That's so awesome. That's absolutely terrific. I hope you enjoy the course as much as I certainly enjoyed creating the course and all the things that we can do with ChatGPT. And so I'm going to leave you with 4 action steps that you can take right now to start implementing this right away, plus an extra step that I'd like you to take a look at as well. So the first step is just review the parts as needed. Was there a part of ChatGPT that really kind of caught your eye, or you want to review that part a little bit more? Go back and watch those specific lessons. Go ahead and review it as much as you need and take a look at those specific parts. Next is, well, certainly sign up for ChatGPT, right? Just go in, log in, sign up, and then play around with it. I've given you some ideas, I've given you some tips, some best practices, whether it's asking for more information, putting things in bullet points, whatever it might be. But go in and play around with it yourself. That's really the best way to learn and how it can really help you. And play around with it and try different things both in your work life, and particularly your work life, as this course around your work life. But we've had some personal stuff too. We made some fun making music and poetry. Even got a nice little gift from my wife too, as we saw in the personal section. So play around with your own self and both your work and your personal life too as well. And then really start, take a moment, go get a cup of coffee, put the computer down, and then think about how ChatGPT can help you. Where can it maybe help you give you the biggest results, your biggest return on your investment of time? Develop a plan about what you might want to leverage with ChatGPT and how that can be part of your overall life plan, where it's part of your work plan or your life plan, whatever your plans are around that, and how it can maybe make an impact for you in work and your business, or if you've got a side gig, or maybe even in your personal life too. But really think about how it can help you. And then lastly, number 4, before the extra step, is do think about continuing your education. There's a lot going on with artificial intelligence, and it's going to keep evolving very quickly. So continue your education. I'm a big believer in continuing your education and continuously learning. In fact, I have a lot of courses on Udemy, so if you'd like to take another course from me, easiest thing to do is just type Steve Ballinger, or autofill actually, but just type my full name into the Udemy search bar and all my courses will come up. And I have courses around business courses, like around leadership and management. I was in management for over 25 years. A lot of time management and productivity type courses to help you better and better at work. And also I have a passion around investing. It allowed me to retire early, be semi-retired, and create Udemy courses. So if you're interested in like stocks or bonds or cryptocurrency, real estate, whatever it is, I've got a lot of different investing courses can help you there as well. Love to see you in another course. Just search for me by typing my name into the Udemy search. And then as an extra step, or maybe more of a favor for me and other students, hey, please leave a review. Go to the tab at the top where it says rating and leave a review of the course. You can leave a message if you want, or just leave a star rating. That would be great. I'd really appreciate it. So do take a moment and leave a star rating, or leave a review rating. That would be wonderful if you could do that. And then lastly, to wrap up the course, to complete the whole course, my last thought for you is I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for spending the time with me on this course. As I said, I enjoyed making this course. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. And certainly think about the ways that ChatGPT can help yourself or help you. But I just want to wrap up the course by saying thank you. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the very best of luck.